Imagine waking up after decades in a fog, only to find your daughter, a stranger, holds the key to a curse you've carried your whole life. This is the tragedy of Deirdre Mayfair, a woman whose power was so feared. Her own family silenced her with drugs and lies. But what drove her to the edge? And why did the demon Lasher cling to her like a shadow? Today, we unravel Deirdre's heartbreaking story from Anne Rice's The Witching Hour, a tale of love, betrayal, and a legacy that refused to stay buried. Deirdre Mayfair was once a vibrant young woman, brimming with supernatural gifts, standing at the heart of New Orleans' most powerful witch family. But by the time we meet her in The Witching Hour, she's a ghost of herself, catatonic, slumped in a rocking chair, her mind drowned in sedatives. Her family, the Mayfairs, feared her power so much they stole her voice, her will, and nearly her life. Yet even in her silence, a malevolent spirit named Lasher haunted her every breath, obsessed with her bloodline. This is the story of how Deirdre fell, why she was broken, and what her fleeting awakening meant for her daughter, Rowan. Deirdre Mayfair was born into a legacy of witches, as detailed in The Witching Hour, where Anne Rice describes the Mayfair family's centuries-old pact with the spirit Lasher and Deirdre's early psychic gifts. As a child, Deirdre's abilities were undeniable. She could move objects with a glance, sense emotions, and even glimpse the future. Her aunt, Carlotta Mayfair, the family's iron-fisted matriarch, saw these gifts not as a blessing, but as a threat. Why? Because Lasher, the demon who'd haunted the Mayfairs for generations, was drawn to Deirdre's power like a moth to a flame. As Rice writes, Lasher whispered to Deirdre in the cradle, promising her the world. But this promise came with a cost. Therefore, Carlotta acted swiftly. By Deirdre's teenage years, she was placed under strict surveillance, forbidden from exploring her powers. However, Deirdre's spirit wasn't easily tamed. She fell in love, a forbidden romance with a man outside the family's control, as noted in The Witching Hour. This love gave her hope, a chance to break free. But then, Carlotta intervened, orchestrating a cruel betrayal that crushed Deirdre's rebellion. The man was driven away, his fate unknown, leaving Deirdre shattered. As a result, her defiance turned to despair, and Carlotta saw her chance to tighten the leash. By her early 20s, Deirdre was no longer the fiery witch she'd been. Carlotta, backed by the family's wealth and influence, had her heavily medicated. Sedatives, antipsychotics, anything to dull her powers and keep Lasher at bay. Deirdre was institutionalized briefly before being brought back to the Mayfair mansion, where she was confined to a porch rocking chair, staring blankly at the world. This wasn't just control, it was erasure. Her mind, once sharp and vibrant, was drowned in a chemical haze. But Lasher never left her. Even in her catatonic state, the spirit hovered, whispering promises of power to use Deirdre's bloodline for his incarnation. Why was Lasher so obsessed? Because Deirdre was the key to his ultimate goal, incarnating into a human body through the Mayfair bloodline. Her daughter, Rowan, would later inherit this burden, but for now, Deirdre was Lasher's fixation. This created a vicious cycle. Carlotta sedated Deirdre to weaken Lasher's influence, but the drugs only made Deirdre more vulnerable to his manipulations, as her will was too broken to resist. To understand Deirdre's fate, we need to zoom out to the Mayfair family itself, a tangled web of secrets and power struggles. Carlotta wasn't acting alone. She was backed by the Talamasca, a secret society monitoring supernatural beings. The Talamasca feared Lasher's plans and saw Deirdre as a ticking time bomb. Meanwhile, other Mayfairs, like Deirdre's cousin Cortland, pushed back, arguing she deserved freedom. Cortland's rebellion hints at a deeper family schism. Some wanted to harness Lasher's power, while others wanted to destroy it. This family drama sets the stage for Rowan, Deirdre's daughter, who was taken from her at birth. Carlotta ensured Deirdre never knew Rowan, sending the baby to California to be raised far from New Orleans' shadows. This separation wasn't just cruel, it was strategic, keeping Rowan ignorant of her heritage and Lasher's influence. But as we'll see, fate had other plans. Deirdre's story takes its most heartbreaking turn in her final days. After decades in a fog, a shift occurs. For reasons unclear, her medication was reduced, allowing a fleeting clarity. For the first time in years, Deirdre wakes. Her mind clears, and she remembers fragments of her life, her love, her powers, her daughter. She's frail, broken, but determined to find Rowan. With Deirdre whispering Rowan's name, her voice trembling with hope. But Lasher is waiting. Sensing her clarity, he intensifies his presence, tormenting her with visions and promises. Deirdre, too weak to fight him, is overwhelmed. She manages to reach out to Rowan, now a grown woman and a doctor, but their reunion is fleeting. Deirdre's body, ravaged by years of drugs and neglect, gives out. She collapses, dying just as she begins to reclaim her life. Her final moments are a gut punch. She sees Rowan, feels a flicker of love, but Lasher's shadow looms, claiming her even in death. Deirdre's death isn't the end, it's the spark that ignites Rowan's journey. When Rowan learns of her mother's fate, she's pulled into the Mayfair legacy, confronting Lasher and the family's secrets. Rowan's rage and grief, fueling her determination to break the cycle Deirdre couldn't. Deirdre's life, though tragic, becomes the catalyst for Rowan's fight, proving even a silenced witch can cast a long shadow. But Deirdre's story also leaves us with a haunting question. Was she a victim of her family, Lasher, or her own power? Her life was stolen, not by one villain, but by a conspiracy of fear and control. Her brief awakening reminds us that even in our darkest moments, there's a spark of defiance, a chance to reach for something more. Deirdre Mayfair's life was a warning, a whisper of what happens when power is feared more than understood. Her tragedy reminds us to hear the silenced, like Deirdre, whose voice still echoes through her daughter's fight.